Well, hello, students. At this point, hey, we are halfway through the course. And, you know, actually, when you talk about power and you talk about leadership and you put those two things together, there are so many ways we can define what power really is. You don't need a sign on the door to say you're a leader. In fact, you don't even have to have a title to be a leader. But what you have to have is really strong core values. You have to be able to practice something that we call authentic leadership. If you're on an assembly line at work and the boss isn't around and you see a newbie that needs help and you're not getting any more money for helping them, you're not getting a promotion, no one else even knows about it, and you walk over to that person and offer a helping hand because you have knowledge about what they can do to be successful, that automatically makes you a leader. People think that when they are enthroned with power or they have some type of a title, it entitles them to be something different than what everybody else is. Well, that might be management in the eyes of some people, but it's certainly not leadership. Leadership is a process. It's like looking at a horizon when you're in a ship. And as you know, when you get closer and closer to that horizon, you almost think you're going to reach it. And somehow it pulls away. And you have to keep going to try to catch it. But you know you never will. That's really what leadership is about. It's about continuing to make a difference, continuing to make changes where you use your power of influence. That's different than the power of authority. Your power of influence is your ability to be able to motivate someone to do something better than they thought they could do themselves. It's to bring them down a path where they don't have to refer to a 300-page textbook to learn because you're setting an example. We can think of so many great leaders that have so much power. I have showed you some of the, to date, and I'll show you more, but some of the interviews that I've done with so many great leaders, I thought very inspiring leaders, who practice what we call servant leadership. That means that they work with individuals, but they don't look at individuals as reporting to them. They may technically do that on the organizational grid, but they would never tell anyone to do something that they wouldn't do themselves. And one of the videos I showed you in this week, you saw that's exactly, or you heard and saw exactly what Tom Brady said after winning another Super Bowl. He said, it's about his team. It's about setting an example, not just talking about it. It's about doing things that he would like you to do that he would have done himself. Leaders always take risks, and sometimes they use their power maybe somewhere a little bit beyond their bounds. Why? Because they're willing to take risks. They're willing to go to that next step. Now, you can use power for the right reasons or power for the wrong reasons. If you have legitimate power and you're a CEO and you use that power to manipulate others and take away from them what's rightfully theirs, eventually karma's going to get you. It's going to bite you in the back. Why? Because once you start lying, you have to keep lying. People like gossip, but they also want the truth, especially when it comes to them. If you want to use your power right, then look in the mirror and say, would I tell anyone else to do something that I wouldn't do myself if they were exerting their power over me? Would I like it when I'm telling someone else to do? And if I say no, then I know I'm not using my power wisely. I'm one of the beliefs that power, whether it be in the legitimate grid or not, is very much perceptual. If you don't like your boss, you're only going to do what you have to do. Although they have legitimate power over you, and unless they threaten you, say, well, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to fire you, I'm going to write you up. But would you do it otherwise because you know it's the right thing to do? Do they motivate you enough to make you want to take that next step? See, that's where the power really is. Two things. Legitimate power can be endowed. And you could be the biggest goof up in the world, but if you got the power, you can tell anyone to do anything. How long are they going to listen to you? That's another thing. But if you've got influence, because your power is respected, because someone else knows that you're exerting that power to make them a little bit better than when they started, then it's real. The perception of power is much more legitimate when it is taken in as something that is less than manipulative and much more motivating. So all these things we did, we talked about power. You know, we could talk about so many leaders who are corrupt and so many leaders who are great. They use their power. Some started out great, and then they weren't so great because the power went to their head. But they perceived their power for personal gain. Those are the people that do things that eventually end up in trouble. So if you have responsibility, as the term says, with great power comes great responsibility. Use it wisely and make a difference. So that's pretty much my reading, listening, viewing section for you this week. I'm sure you've gone in and read the chapter, and what I am going to do at this point is I'm going into reading, listening, and viewing, and giving you your final DQ for the week, okay? Which will be DQ 16. It'll be more of how you perceive power, and I'm going to put it in the form of a question. Okay, on to week 5.